Welcome back to Sunday Vibes, one and all. We're back in the pub here to answer your burning questions. It's Chris, me and Pato today. Captain Kirk has the first one. Which player has gone under the radar so far this season, starting in the Premier League? Who's got an answer?
Okay, well, you're both looking at me, so I guess I'll jump in. You know what? Ashley Barnes deserves his props at the start of this season.
Okay.
A guy who is aging like a fine bloody
29
wine.
now, yes.
29 years old, Joseph. 4 goals in 4 appearances this season for Burnley, lest we forget, who only score about 15 every campaign. And his shot numbers have gone up from 2.4 to 4.2. We don't expect that to be a constant throughout the season.
I think we do.
Probably won't maintain those numbers.
Improvement.
And he's also thrown in, 1.5 dribbles for good measure, which is up about 5 times from last campaign. He's a one-man destroyer at the moment, and it's been a long old journey for him to the top, hasn't it? 11 years ago, playing in the lower echelons of English football with Oxford. He's only scored, I think, 40-odd goals in 160 to 180 appearances for Burnley, if memory serves me correctly, but 16 of those have been since the start of the 18-19 campaign. He's really come into the fore. This is a proper Jamie Vardy story, and my God, if Burnley needed him to. Although Chris Wood, able kind of deputy at the moment, he's also enjoying a little purple patch, but he's been bloody frightening.
Should he have been called up by Southgate? Should Southgate have given him the cap?
I feel like Austria should call him up, right? He's eligible for Austria.
Did something happen with that?
You can't get an Austrian passport. You can't get an Austrian passport.
Really?
Yeah, so he can't actually be called up to their first team. He's played for the youth team.
Do you have to get the passport to do that?
Yeah, I think you've got to get an Austrian passport to represent Austria, and he can't get it. So he is eligible still to play for England. Obviously never been capped by the Austrian first team. He's played at youth level. But should he have been called up as part of this squad? Callum Wilson's in there. He's, as an Englishman, he scored more goals than any Englishman in 2019. Ahead of Jamie Vardy, ahead of Harry Kane, ahead of Callum Wilson.
I do think Jamie Vardy is a better player, though.
But Jamie Vardy also couldn't get in this squad, could he?
Exactly.
So
hasn't Jamie Vardy they've not retired at the end of the World Cup, didn't Southgate? Or was it the start of the World Cup, maybe end of a previous tournament? Didn't he kind of say to the older players, listen, you won't be called upon. You're unofficially kind of out of my thinking, or officially out of my thinking, but unofficially retired.
Yeah, Jamie Vardy kind of hinted as much, didn't he, as well?
I mean, fair enough. Like the youth is so good, and it's obviously a much better investment in England's future for them to give minutes to say. I actually think they probably should be thinking about calling up Tammy Abraham on current form, especially. To be honest, I'd actually start Rashford up front over Kane at this point as well. But
no,
it's a separate point. I don't think Kane's been very good this year. Whereas I think Rashford actually looks like he's going to be a superstar. But anyway.
But Kane and Sterling.
I thought you were going to say Abraham then instead of Kane.
So sympathetic.
I think I'd much rather defend against Kane than against Rashford.
Oh, fair enough.
I wouldn't. I would every day of the week start Kane up front.
Even if you had
leading 9.
Even if you had
one leg. Even if you had one leg.
Basically does have one leg.
Yeah, but I agree. I don't think I would have taken Ashley Barnes. I think.
Okay.
But it's fair enough to say he deserves it.
Yeah, he was in line with the shout, and I think he'll be happy with people even putting his name in contention for a spot in that England squad, given the level of some of our forwards that are available. And obviously, Southgate is looking to progress to the next load of players, hence the fact that Kyle Walker didn't get called up. Doesn't need to see any more of Kyle Walker. He knows what Kyle Walker's going to give him. Doesn't need to call him up. That's why when Wan-Bissaka got a back injury, pulled out of the squad, he chose not to call Kyle Walker up in place of him, because what does he need to see of Kyle Walker? Everybody knows what he can give you. And I think Ashley Barnes won't go to the Euros, so why bother bringing him now? No point in giving him like a ceremonial cap. In the same way in the past we've given Lambert caps, we've given who else was Jay Bothroyd, I think, got a cap, didn't he?
Against France, inexplicably.
No need for it. So Ashley Barnes has been outstanding, but not cap worthy, I think, for England. And he'll probably finish the season like 15 goals.
But that'd be a bloody good return. He deserves a shout for, in regards to this question, not an international cap. You just mentioned Rashford. To segue quite clumsily into Manchester United then. Have you been surprised with Daniel James's start to the season?
Definitely surprised, because he's scoring goals, and I don't think anybody thought he'd score goals, but they have been exceptional finishes. Like all of them have been taken from tough areas. I'd imagine like if you were to look at it in terms of XG, they're all very, very low quality chances.
Well, that's Manchester United as a whole, right?
Yeah, but exceptional finishes in all three of the games. I thought the Wales one was particularly good because the other two, he's kind of been a little bit more static and rifling. This one, he's at the defender, comes inside him.
With the Wales one, I was like, hold on. He might have a little bit more about him than expected. That was first time, outstanding.
So, yeah, I think he surprised me, but then I don't think anybody really knew what to expect from him. He'd played 43 professional games going into this season, so nobody really knew whether he was going to be a total bust or he could have the potential to go on and smash it at United. Obviously, I've seen the Leeds documentary where he is desperate to join Leeds. He's done his medical. He's sat in the room waiting to sign for Leeds. He's really keen. And that sort of felt like the tier that he should be playing at, like top of the Championship. But to be doing it for Manchester United, I'm totally surprised that. I didn't think he'd be a starter for United. I thought he'd be a squad player. And yeah, he's looked really good. He's looked really good in a forward line that has been like mismatched and struggling to find each other and not particularly well gelled.
So what do you make of, just to kind of go on to Manchester United as a whole, because his goals are kind of indicative of United's forward play. And you're
struggling.
You're producing really low quality chances. You've not had that many shots. You might have kind of edged each team on XG so far in your opening 4 games.
But because we've had a good defence.
And you have been playing against teams which have deployed a deep block that don't necessarily want to produce a high volume of chances against you, that have kind of gone for the smash and grab in the form of Crystal Palace, in the form of Southampton. Like the fact you couldn't score a goal and have kind of gone for the smash Southampton or produce a really good, 2 or 3 really good chances is a little bit worrying.
Yeah, it's worrying. Although I think if we'd have had Tony Martial fit, we probably would have. He is a real difference maker for United. Just has a unique ability that none of the other forwards that we have got at our disposal to be able to pick up the ball inside the box and feel comfortable in there. Like Rashford shoots from all over the place. Daniel James shoots from all over the place. Juan Mata no longer has the legs to carry us up there. Pereira is next to useless. Doesn't really do anything for us. So without Martial in and around that 6-yard box, you really lose the out-and-out poacher in the team.
But the problem I'd say more is like the lack of creativity in that front line. Like Daniel James has had a good goal scoring start to the season, but he's not creating anything. And Rashford is obviously like playing as an actual 9.
I think
the second best creator in your side so far has been Ashley Young. Like he's got the second most key passes in your team after Pogba, and then it goes to like Harry Maguire and Rashford and Wan-Bissaka, who are kind of creating like 1 to 0.75 key passes a game. That's quite troubling.
I think the reason that that's so low is that we've really, really struggled in midfield, like to create anything. We've been playing this sort of 4-2-3-1 where we've seen Pogba and McTominay deployed deep. McTominay as a destroyer, who started the season really well actually. Probably been one of our better players. And Pogba as a sort of quarterback who sprays balls all over the pitch and gets pushed up towards the back end of the game. So against Southampton, we saw Matic come on, next to useless when he came on, but allowed Pogba to play in the 10 role. From the start, in most games, we've seen Pogba deployed deep, and then we've seen either Mata or Lingard played as a 10 in the hole, which is where United are desperate for creativity, and those two aren't creative enough. Mata, once upon a time, would have been great in there. He's not the player he once was, and Jesse Lingard just isn't a creator. Like, he's much better off the ball and exploiting holes than he is actually on the ball looking to pick passes. So we don't have anybody to create from the midfield unless it's Pogba. And when they key on Pogba, we are because he creates all of our chances. He's probably leading the way in chance creation for United by a mile, because I think he's creating like 3 or 4 a game.
I think he's got 10 through the 4 games so far, and the next best is 6 for Young.
Exactly, and those 6 have probably come from set pieces as well.
One's keen on Young.
Yeah, they're just like hopeful whip balls.
Yeah, hopeful whip balls. But Pogba is actually distributing from deep. So when you don't have any creativity at 10, it allows them just to sit right back, because they're like, okay, you're not going to unpick us from that midfield role. We'll sit right back. And Rashford's best attribute by a mile was running at players. Players themselves when he's running at them. We saw it for England. We've seen it for United all season on the counter-attack. Same with Daniel James. Nobody wants Daniel James running at them with the ball. Or running in behind them to get onto a ball. So they just sit deep, and we don't have anybody creative enough to pick apart a sitting defence.
Well, and Pogba doesn't have pure freedom either, because McTominay's not a good enough defensive midfielder. Like McTominay's making 3.4 tackles and interceptions this season, which is pretty bad as a defensive midfielder. And so, as a result, like, I don't know.
I think that is partly because we've seen a lot of the ball in all of our opening games, though. Like against Southampton, we were so dominant.
Yeah, but against Southampton, I think Pogba made 6 tackles. Like, I mean, and you look at Wan-Bissaka's numbers, like his defensive numbers are even higher than they were at Crystal Palace. Yeah. So other people are managing to get these statistics. Why is McTominay so bad at breaking up play? Like, I don't know. I actually think McTominay's had a really bad start to the season, but I don't think he's a very good player.
He's not had a really bad start.
Okay, but he's not a good player. Is basically my. I don't think he's certainly not a Man United player. He may not be a Premier League player.
I think that's really harsh.
He's likely to end up being a lower mid-table player.
I think that is harsh, and he's adjusted to his new role better than I anticipated.
What do you mean his new role?
Last season he wasn't the deepest man.
Yeah,
Matic
in that his chief responsibility is shielding the back four, and his deep progressions have been okay on about 7. The rest of his numbers have looked league average, and that is certainly not going to propel Manchester United into the top 4. And
definitely not.
Should he be partnering a player of Pogba's calibre? No, but it's very much kind of not his fault in the way he's being utilised. I feel like he is having to shoulder the burden of Nemanja Matic, who at this point is a zombie on the pitch. Like they're saying, go out there and be Matic.
Yeah, but he's not doing that. Like Like there are some quite limited players who still put up like better defensive numbers than this. And I don't know. I look at McTominay. I think McTominay's not actually really good at anything. In fact, the only thing McTominay's shown the ability to do at an above average level is get shots. Like weirdly, as a central midfielder, the only area where he was above average at any point during his time in the Man United first team has been in getting shots inside the box, and he actually won a penalty obviously early on in the season, and he does get fouled quite a lot, but he just can't. He's not a particularly good passer. He's clearly not a very good defender. He's not a dribbler. So it's just like he's just a guy, and fundamentally, I look at him and I just think like this is. Somehow Man United fans are complaining about how their side is accepting mediocrity, but then on the other hand, Man United fans are getting kind of excited about McTominay, and I think these are the same things.
I don't think we're getting excited. My argument would be...
I think quite a lot of people Maybe you aren't.
I would rather McTominay than Matic. That's what I'm saying.
Oh,
like
well,
he's not an exceptional player. He's going to be a squad player for Manchester United. He's never going to be a star. But I would rather he's playing in there than Matic.
And on a slightly more positive note, Manchester United's defence has been much, much better. I think you're allowing the 3rd or 4th least amount of passes inside your box, and while Wan-Bissaka is putting up monstrous numbers, and opposition teams are barely completing, a dribble down that right-hand side when you actually look at Manchester United's whole kind of setup. Some of that is owing to McTominay kind of sacrificing might be a bit strong himself for the team, because he is trying to enable Pogba to do what Pogba does best, isn't he? And I just feel like that role is a bit of a thankless task. But I agree, he's probably going to end up at Crystal Palace, at Aston Villa. But give the lad a break.
But it's not his fault we didn't sign a centre mid. Like we should have signed a centre mid.
Nobody's saying it's his fault. What I'm saying is he's not good enough to play in central midfield for Man United. And I think that's like quite obviously the case.
But he's doing his bloody utmost.
I just wish he could do more. I think it's weird, for instance, that Man United fans like seem to love McTominay but hate, say, Man United. And I think that's when you think that actually Jesse Lingard is good enough to play for Man United. Not to start maybe, but good enough to play for you. McTominay
hasn't contributed to a goal in 2019 though, which is alarming.
Yeah, but I mean, sometimes you do just get if you create a chance and somebody else misses it, it's not really your fault. Yeah. But that is the problem. You look at this Man United team now and you think,
where's the chance creation coming from?
Well, and you just think, like, okay, you need to go out and buy at least 3 positions, straight up.
Well, the issue is we seem to have relatively sold the defence a little bit. Lindelof's definitely improving week on week.
The defence
is started
great.
Brilliantly.
It's a Champions League defence at the moment.
Good. Well, we will see once they play.
Looks strong.
Once you actually play some teams who are going to attack.
Luke Shaw not being fit doesn't help. Obviously injured again, and De Gea is still struggling in between the sticks to an extent.
Yeah, I had a look at the sort of XG on that, and he's cost you a goal more than he should have.
The Crystal Palace game
already, which is kind of hard to recover from over
but then the midfield is all over the place, and the forward line are struggling to create chances. But nevertheless, I think United are fine. Everybody panic mode about Man United. I think they're fine. Let's move away from Man United though, because they are slightly boring. I want to say Seb Haller for a potential under the radar. Started the season brilliantly.
Agreed. Good shout.
Started the season how I'm sure Jovic wish he started the season over in Madrid, who obviously
Imagine
can't
that.
buy
Jovic
a game.
being like, I should have gone to West Ham.
Going to
Bloody
Madrid.
hell.
I saw some people on Twitter saying that West Ham have got the better striker out of Frankfurt, which I don't think is true.
They've got the more rounded striker though. Like they've got the perfect player for them because.
But he's a lot older as well.
He's not that much older. He's 24.
I think Norwich 21.
Jovic is 21, yeah, but Haller's 24, I think.
Yeah.
I'm not sure he's 24. I don't think he's 25
I think he might be 25 now.
Okay,
Yeah, it's just
but he's still, I mean,
still cutting yet to his prime, you could argue.
And the style of striker he is, he's not pace dependent. He's a great passer. He's essentially got a lot of the qualities of like a Giroud type forward, but he's still got a little bit more pace. He's obviously a huge guy.
He gets chances in great areas.
I mean, the chances, because he's not shooting a lot this season. But
all of his shots
phenomenal.
have come from inside the box. He's had 8 shots this season, scored 3 goals. If you actually look at them as well, they're in central areas. They pretty much line up one behind the other, like someone queuing up.
They're proper scramble finishes.
Yeah.
They're like
the
a
second best
finish.
quality of shot in the Premier League this campaign.
That doesn't surprise me at all, because he always seems to be in the area where a keeper makes a save and he's tapping it in, or it bobbles out of a scramble, he's tapping it in.
It is interesting though. You said well-rounded, and he really is, but no key passes yet this year. He's had to kind of sacrifice some of his creativity to be point man, but he doesn't, while he's scoring goals, I'm sure he doesn't mind that, but contributing to 32 passes, which is more than the whole back line.
Yeah, so he's not
like he's the conduit, isn't
He's not creating chances for other people, but he's clearly heavily involved in the link-up play. So like, he basically facilitates all the kind of guys around him, pretty much all of whom can create.
It's an interesting evolution, isn't it?
Does that kind of similar like to that at Utrecht, where he was like the real centre forward there. Like now, obviously when he was playing with Jovic was like the number 9, and Haller was kind of a second striker in a kind of Bergkampy way, I guess. But when he was at Utrecht, he was like an actual 9. I think he got 18 goals in his last season.
Because to go from 1.4 key passes a game to none says to me that he's been told to do something totally different than what he was doing at Eintracht Frankfurt that made him worth 40 mil. And that flexibility is such a good quality.
Or he's got better people giving in the ball as well than he had
just
at
dropping.
Like if Felipe Anderson and Lanzini are delivering the ball, you maybe don't need to create your own chances as much.
Unless you drop really, really deep and then you're kind of giving it to Anderson, like you said, Pablo Fornals, they're running it, you're running with them, and you're just getting on the end of their chances.
We might see it pop up more now that Yarmolenko is playing a bit more regularly, because Yarmolenko is going to be more of a shot taker than a shot creator. So like maybe once he has that guy running on, you will see him drop, and then there'll be someone in the box. Whereas Felipe Anderson doesn't want to be in the box. Lanzini doesn't really want to be in the box. They maybe want to be around the edge, but they're not going to do what say Michail Antonio has done for West Ham in the past, which is obviously like run into the back stick. Then we might see a little bit more creativity from Haller.
Yeah. But
he's been fantastic. He's so fun to watch.
I don't think it's been surprising, because we all said that he was going to be an amazing signing, didn't we?
Well, his numbers were just it was so easy to kind of gauge, wasn't it?
He surprised a lot of like the regular the regular pundits and sort of like the average football fan. Because everybody I think is like, oh, he's going to be a target man. He's a big bloke. He's going to be hit into him. He's going to knock it down. But he's way better.
I mean, when you're putting up as many key passes as Mesut Ozil in a season, it does suggest you've got a bit more about you, doesn't it?
Brilliant player. Another one then, Soyuncu. I've got written down. You may as well touch on it, Howard.
What, Lord Farquhar?
Started well. I still can't believe he's only 23. Like, he looks 33.
His face looks like a shield, doesn't it?
It's insane.
That's always a sign of a good defender.
So fat.
His jawline is incredible. I mean, you say you're surprised he's only 23. He was playing in the 2nd division of Turkish football 2 or 3 years ago. And then he gets a couple of really good seasons under his belt, doesn't he, at Freiburg?
Yeah.
Plus 20 league. And then he gets a couple of really games. And then he comes to Leicester for near enough 20 mil, doesn't play at all, 4 starts. And then everyone's like, okay, Leicester have made maybe they've made an expensive mistake here. Like, no element of rotation. I think only put a couple of appearances in both cup competitions as well.
Yeah, struggling.
But then has stepped in this season, and it's like 70 plus passes a game with an 85% pass accuracy, winning 70% of his headers, which all stack up incredibly well, if not slightly better than Maguire's numbers last campaign. And you're okay, Brendan Rodgers has really, really lucked out here, because he's inherited someone who naturally looks incredible on the ball. He's not as good at long passes as Harry Maguire. Harry Maguire was incredible with his distribution from kind of distance.
Maguire's really good at picking lines as well, like splitting 4 players and it goes straight into the 10's feet. And really good.
So with Tielemans in the side, you need that a little bit less, right? And Evans is actually a good passer too.
The one thing I'll say about Soyuncu, do you think he is benefiting slightly from Rodgers' extreme conservatism at the start of the season? Like, I feel like Rodgers at the start of the season wasn't overly convinced about his own own team without Maguire. So I'm going to stick Chowdhury in there, I'm going to stick Ndidi in there, I'm going to stick Tielemans in there.
He's still putting up
Shield.
4.5 tackles and interceptions, which would suggest that he's not being shielded. He's being shielded okay, but that was more than Maguire. So yeah, I agree with you. Leicester were being very conservative.
Because I think he'll change that idea.
Did that make defending any easier? I'm not sure. But
it's not going to change your aerial wins, is it? Or
Ricardo Pereira's putting up a massive amount of tackles still as well. Ben Chilwell is always kind of got a solid return. So that suggests they're still facing a decent amount of traffic. But I do think that those 70-odd passes, he's probably stuck 10 passes per game onto his game as a result of having two options in front of him. That might come down a little bit.
And also the question is like whether he's any better than that level. Like the advantage of him playing at Leicester is that he's got this protection on all sides, and also he's got a conservative centre-back next to him in Johnny Evans, who is going to sit and sweep up behind him. You could imagine if he went to a side who are going to play a bit more open, like a top side, then you might see him exposed a little bit more, because he is very aggressive. Like Hamel said, like a lot of defensive actions per game, and he's very good in the one-on-one. But often those defenders can be a little bit rash. And I mean, before he went to Leicester, he almost went to Arsenal, and
it's apparently City as well.
I think he might have been linked with Spurs as well. Like he basically was linked with everybody when he was at Freiburg, and Leicester ended up getting him for a lot less than the rumour price was. Essentially because all the big sides said no, like this is a little bit of a risk for now. And you could see him maybe getting exposed a little bit more in those systems, but it'll be interesting over the next couple of years to see if he's just a good, solid Premier League centre-back or whether he's something special.
Yeah, I mean, what is also interesting
he's so young as well.
is that Johnny Evans is 32 now, I want to say, maybe 32 going on 33. So even in 18 months, will they be looking for a new partner for him? And then all of a sudden, like, if he's not got someone with that experience who's so assured next to him, will that kind of affect him a little bit?
Say Benkovic or
and if he loses Chilwell, let's say in the summer to a Man City or somebody like that level that do decide to move on him, which is very possible, then you suddenly have to.
I mean, they'll be paying 60, 70 mil for Chilwell. Because Leicester just don't deal
I think Chilwell. I think if you're at a club like Leicester now, you've got to run your contract down if you want to go to a big side. I think that players like Chilwell and Ndidi, you'd expect to stay there now until they've got a year left on their contract, maybe.
Yeah, a few other names I've got noted down here: Buendia, Trossard. I want to throw McGinn in there as well. I really like McGinn. Every time I watch him, I think he's a fantastic player. But Buendia started the season just as we thought he would, very, very strong.
Campbell as well, because I mean we knew what Buendia was. Right? Like we knew that Buendia was like a really hard-working, creative, kind of wide player who pretty much had the defensive work rate of a midfielder, who was just going to get up and down and really protect Max Aarons on the right. And Max Aarons has actually not had to do a huge amount of defending, but the defending he's done has been fantastic. I mean, like last season he was completing, I think, like 1.5 dribbles a game. This season that's gone to 2.3.
Nice.
And defensively, he only wins the ball back 2.5 times a game, but he's winning something like 88% of his tackles at the moment, Max Aarons, as a 19-year-old.
Wendy's dribbling's gone up as well. Daniel Farke's just gone, I just try it.
Though sometimes I feel like that happens with players coming up from the Championship, where it's like, oh Jesus, we actually can't pass through people, so we've got to rely on our like individual talent.
Yeah, and you do get a little bit. Oh, hello. You do get a little bit more time in the Premier League, don't you, on the ball, which
in the Championship?
which I suppose gives you more time to size your man up. The Championship a little bit more frenetic. You're probably looking to get rid of it a little bit quicker.
And smaller pitches probably as well.
Slight worry though. I think Buendia has been great and Max Aarons has been great. Like Godfrey's been really good as well. Yeah, they've all looked good, the defenders. They're still shipping.
Yeah, they've got the worst defensive record in the league.
My worry is that what happens when they start to underperform.
Well, it was their problem in the Championship, wasn't it, that they were soft down the centre and they conceded a lot of shots from central positions, despite having a couple of really capable midfielders as well. And you just think, if everyone's putting up good individual numbers, it's got to be system. Kind of Farke just saying, we're going to concede these goals, but let's go for it.
They're a really easy club to root for as a neutral. Norwich in the past were always the most boring side the world had ever known. Like it was like Paul Lambert's Norwich, horrible. Then it was
McNeil. No, who's the Scottish bloke? Alex, from Hamilton.
That guy.
Yeah.
Horrible.
Dead, I know.
Horrible.
Alex Neil.
Yeah,
Alex Neil.
Something like that. Yeah, they were an absolutely horrific team.
Yeah.
And now they're like really fun. They're like Roger Swansea when they came up. They were like, obviously we're going to ship 1 billion goals, but 4 teams have scored more goals than Norwich in the Premier League so far. And obviously part of that is Timo Pukki just scoring absolutely everything that lands at his feet. But he's been creative as well, and they're just super fun all round. Like, I think Tom Treble looks like a Premier League defensive midfielder. Like, I actually think there's a lot of talent to be pilfered from Norwich. So if they go down, I think they will make a lot of money in sales.
That's the thing, is they've started the season well. Like, we're all like, oh, Norwich started the season well. They're 19th.
Yeah.
Yeah, it feels like Max Aarons is going to end up at Spurs at the end of this season, one way or another.
Yeah, there was a talent deficit with Norwich that wherein you anticipated them always being kind of in the bottom 5, 6, but the fact they look competitive, I think, is the uplifting thing. And people like Buendia still, creating 2.5 chances a game, which is more than the likes of David Silva and Mo Salah, is very surprising, and like Pat said, does make it easier to root for them. Because players, like Trossard as well. I think he's creating a similar amount of chances. They're just coming and having a bloody go, aren't they?
Yeah, well, Trossard's a little bit older, right? Trossard, I think, deserves a shout in this as well. Like, I actually think Brighton are pretty good. Brighton look kind of
defensively good,
and they look, and the way they play as well. Like, I think they play out of the back. I think they're just behind Man City, maybe for like passes from the keeper into the centre backs.
Like, were they playing a 3? It's like a 3-4-2-1, wasn't it, or like a 3-4-3?
Like, whenever I watch them, I'm like, what the hell is happening?
They're playing Solly March as a wing back.
Yeah, I love Solly March actually. I really like a lot of players in the Brighton team, and Trossard, he's 24, so they kind of needed him to deliver immediately. Otherwise, he wasn't necessarily going to develop all that much. But he was the best player on the pitch against, God, was it Southampton or something? Like, he's like 3.5 shots a game, 2.5 key passes.
Yeah, only 1 goal so far, but lucky not to have more. Probably.
Great. Yeah. I really like Trossard, and he's when you look at clubs like Brighton and Norwich, you can at least see upside, right? You can think, if this player hits the upper end of what is possible for him, then there might be a real star there who carries them up the table. Whereas when I look at, say, a Villa, I find that a little bit harder to see, because I think, no matter how good Grealish is, he's not like a centre forward who's going to like bang you like 16 goals and keep you up. Like,
anybody under the radar of how poor they've been? Like, I think Southampton might be flying under the radar a little bit. I've not been a fan of Southampton. I know they've played Liverpool, tough game. Manchester United, tough game. But like, Che Adams, don't know how well he's making the steps to the Premier League. And it is early. I'll give him that. But
and just because these guys have adjusted really quickly, it's not to say we shouldn't give Adams time. And you imagine, like, under the manager they have at current, what's his name? So Hasenhuttl. Jesus, yeah, high chance creation typically for his sides. So if you're struggling forward, at least you're part of a system which is designed to attack. That's probably, that's reaching. That's a silver lining for him right there. I actually tip them to kind of be dark horses. We'll see, after 10, 15 games, we've got a little bit more data to work with, haven't we?
Defence looks good. Vestergaard and
but they have been a little bit unlucky.
Should we go across to Europe then? Anybody flying under the radar across Europe? Leipzig, obviously top of the league. Anybody at their team? Sabitzer starting the season really well.
Sabitzer's got like 0.9 expected goals and assists per 90 at the moment, up from I think about 0.5 last season.
He's killing it.
He's never really had like quite the output you'd expect, given how good he looks when you watch him. But this year, I mean, everybody's just like tearing it up. Like the first few games.
Shock. Nagelsmann's gone in there and just gone, right, we're going to score 100 goals again.
I mean, Nkunku honestly looks like he is going to be a superstar. Like, he looks incredible. Werner obviously is what he's been forever. And Sabitzer is kind of the guy who stitches it all together. And the defenders all look great. Like, if you were hoping for Ethan Ampadu to play minutes this season, I'm not sure there's much of a hope of that.
Is he playing, Sabitzer, is he playing a sort of his Dembele from last season? Is he in that kind of AMC role?
He's playing a bit more on the right.
I guess
a little bit more on the right.
But he's always been like a sort of creator from wide, right? Like, so he's also your guy who stitches it together. He's one of those tweener players, where he kind of supports the attack, but also drops back into the midfield.
Nagelsmann is f***ing great as well, isn't it? Like, he just does bits with attacks. Whoever he gets his hands on, I'm not sure I trust them in the future. It's like a Simeone defence. Like, I don't want any of the individuals, but I want the manager.
Yeah, that's the thing about Nagelsmann. Like, if your team has great defensive personnel, like, Nagelsmann is the guy for you.
Yeah.
Like, because I think, like, if you give him good defenders, he will absolutely tear up a league. Like, because his attack is just unbelievable. They can just cut through anybody, and he's got so much talent in that side. But I do think if he had slightly less mobile, slightly less talented defenders, they might be in a little bit of trouble. because they do play quite open. And last season they ended up finishing, was it 7th or 8th in the Bundesliga, Hoffenheim, because they just didn't. They'd had such a drain of defensive personnel over the years. You know, like when Süle went, that was obviously like a really big.
It'd be interesting to see how they fare in Europe under Nagelsmann.
I think they could be so fun.
It'd be interesting to see where Nagelsmann goes next. He's only been there 3 games. I'm already like, right, where's he going now?
Oh yeah, Arsenal fans were already saying Emery out next summer, Nagelsmann.
Get Nagelsmann. Everybody wants Nagelsmann.
Okay.
I think they might catch a few people cold in Europe. Who else? There's Pulga at Fiorentina. He's the DMC. He started. I think he joined from I want to say Bologna. 3 goal contributions in 3 games. I kind of noticed him when we were running some numbers. I posted about this guy a little while ago, but Osimhen. At Lille.
Victor.
Oh my goodness gracious.
He's a Nigerian kid.
Yeah,
I mean, he arrived from Charleroi. I want to say that. I want to pronounce it like that. I don't know if that's correct.
Charleroi.
There we go. Just use his sound and dub it over my mouth in post. I mean, 4 shots a game for him. He's kind of all in really promising locations as well. I think at least 3/4 of them are from inside the box, if not slightly more. And he's just really picked up the mantle from Nicolas Pepe. And they would have been, in the first sort of 3-4 games of the season, extremely shot shy, extremely goal shy, had it not been for him, despite the fact they've got 2 really good creators in the team, who's, for some reason, their names...
Kone.
Yeah, Kone, names that sort of eluding me at the moment.
They've got a really fun attacking roster, actually, because they've also got Weah as well, right?
Jonathan Bamba and Kone, yes.
Yeah, Ikone. I don't know, like, Lille... It's quite exciting actually seeing the Nigerian talent that's coming through at the moment. I think Nigeria are going to have a real side going forward because they've got Iwobi, they've got Iheanacho, who's actually got 1 goal in 3 for Nigeria. Osimhen, Ndidi. Then they've got Samuel Kalou. Then they've got Samuel Chukwueze at Villarreal. Like there's so much quality in the Nigerian side that I know it feels a little bit like when Pele in like the late 80s was like they will win the World Cup. Like I feel like. I'm not sure they'll necessarily win a World Cup, but I think like going deep in the latter stages of a World Cup in the next couple of tournaments is very much on the cards.
And if they can maintain that sort of level of kit, then everyone's a winner.
Yeah. Slimani as well in Ligue 1.
Oh wow!
What's happened there?
Can't stop banging.
Oh wow! Was it 5 goals? Oh, 3 goals in 5 or 5 goals in 3?
I think it's 3 goals.
I'm not sure.
I know he got 2 on his debut.
2 on his debut, then I think he got 2 the week after. But either way,
by the way, that goal where he sticks a leg out, pulls it down in front of the keeper, and then just taps it in is so good.
He's like Newcastle, Fenerbahce, like he was just in the wilderness, and then this season they've gone, right, we'll get rid of Falcao, he can go to Galatasaray. We'll bring in Slimani.
We won't take any tax off you, Islam. He's gone, right, here we go, boys. Nail me in for 5 this season, straight away off the bat. Unbelievable start. I think everybody thought he was finished. He cost Leicester 30 mil when he first signed.
God, I hate that Monaco squad though. That Monaco squad has just gradually disintegrated. I think getting Bakayoko back is big for them, but like you still look at it and think, oh God, like there are problems all over the shop. They've really got to hope that Badiashile turns into a star, or Fode Balotore turns into something. But
should we just briefly touch, rather than a player going under the radar over in Spain, on Marcelino? It might fly under the radar around some of the major outlets as well because he's left, but Marcelino getting fired.
It's clearly political. It's not. It can't be performance related.
Well, it almost happened before, didn't it? Like before, it was actually announced that he was leaving by a bunch of pretty reputable journalists, and then at the last minute, they managed to kind of like hash out the difference.
He must
But players were coming out, weren't they? Like Rodrigo gave an interview where he's like, the players are so on side of the manager.
He must though be like the unluckiest manager in Europe. Like he took Villarreal to 4th, didn't he? Was sacked. Then he's gone back-to-back seasons of 4th for Valencia, Europa League semi-final last season.
But last season,
1-1-1 this season.
Yeah, last season, if you look at expected points, they were good enough to kind of finish 2nd. And I know that is a huge swing, and expected points I'm always a little bit uneasier with than expected goals. I know one feeds into the other, but 16 or 17 draws. I think it might have been 16. I think it was. And to still finish 4th, that is incredible. I mean, La Liga was wild, wasn't
and he was in the Europa League deep
last season. But
going deep in the Europa League, you in the league. It really does.
But they should have scored 4 more goals than they did. I think they kind of maybe looked out on the defensive end. Like traditionally, a Marcelino defence has always been quite tight, hasn't it? But people just weren't hitting the same heights. I mean, Soler gone now. Did he go to Celta Vigo? Am I imagining that? That's Santi Mina.
Soler's still there.
Rodrigo.
And they've got Kangin Lee coming through, who's going to be like the next superstar for them, which would be really fun. Like I don't know.
Danny Parejo still has to be that man for them, though, doesn't he?
He is
an absolute warrior.
Saw a few rumours linking Jose. with the job.
So boring. Like I just
return.
think, like get Roger Schmidt in. Like that's absolutely Roger Schmidt's level. Like I can see why like a Man United or someone wouldn't take a punt on a Roger Schmidt, but a Valencia, like why not?
Too smart for Peter Lim, that.
Why not?
In my opinion, I think he's going to go, Jose, how much do you want a week, boy? And then Jose's going to chuck him. He's going to chuck him a check.
Yeah, but as long as he does that, Valencia are never going to really like. It's very hard to find a manager available who's actually better than Marcelino. He's a really good coach. So I think they need to.
For him and Schmidt to both be on the market now, I bet a lot of Premier League teams are like, oh, for what?
I don't know, man. I think the level of Premier League managers is exceptional this season. Really good.
I think they could fit in.
For that middling teams, like if West Ham.
I think Marcelino is better than Silva at Everton.
Well, he's better than Smith as well. He's better than loads of people. But I do agree generally. Like I think when we were talking about which manager would get fired first, Gracia wasn't obvious because he's a bad manager. It's because Watford were on a bad run, and they're trigger happy. But now when you look around the league, I think it's actually really hard to see weak links. Like you look at them and you think a bunch of these managers, if they go down, they've earned the right to take their team down. Like Dyche, for instance, or Eddie Howe.
Yeah,
it's really hard to see those guys.
Like, the favourite with the bookies is Pochettino at the moment.
What's the sack? Extenuating circumstances, though, isn't it?
Which is just mental.
But Shouts, more likely to quit.
A couple of shouts before I forget in La Liga then. Gerard Moreno at Villarreal and Denis Suarez at Celta Vigo has been absolutely belted.
It's been wild.
Yeah, good, because he's had a rough couple of years, hasn't he?
Yeah, very, very tough. Anyway,
as a well-paid footballer.
Which players have flown under the radar from your perspective this season? You can pick any league, tweet it to us, let us know in the comments below. Moving on to quickfire questions. If you are new to the channel and you're enjoying Sunday Vibes, make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn notifications on, and then go and download the Sunday Vibes Extra Time podcast, which we do every other week. It's on all good podcast apps. We just hit 1 million listens.
Yes. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you very much. Let's get straight into quickfire questions then. The first one was sent in by Ronan Kerbel, 21. Can Leipzig win the Bundesliga?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely they can.
I think they can as well this season.
Their attack is incredible. I think their attack will probably end up being at least the second best in the league. I can't see both Dortmund's and Bayern's being better than them.
Yeah.
And they've just got everything that you want to see. Plus they have players to come back. Like they've still got Tyler Adams to come back, who's obviously a superstar. Their defence, I think, is still being worked out. Like who he's going to have as his first choice 3. I don't know, like everywhere I look in that squad, there seems to be strength in every position. And
agreed.
Nagelsmann, like you said before, is a kind of guy who can get a level of attack out of his team beyond what you would really expect from their level of talent. But with Nkunku, Werner, Sabitzer, Augustin, Poulsen, all these guys, like there's just a bunch of people there. And Cunha, like youngsters like Cunha, who have the ability to contribute at least a handful of goals.
Is that the guy from Sion?
Yeah, they had it. Was he at Sion? Yeah, he was on loan. He was on loan in Switzerland. I knew that. But of course, Ademola Lookman as well, like who hasn't really played yet. Ethan Ampadu hasn't played yet. They've got so much depth everywhere.
Incredible.
That Saraki on the left wing, he hasn't played because Haustenberg's been in such good form. So I just think.
Here's a scenario for you.
Okay.
And you. Would he win? Would he win the league with the Dortmund squad, or do you think the RB Leipzig squad is of the level?
He would win the league with the Dortmund squad.
I think the Leipzig squad is as good as the Dortmund squad. But yeah, absolutely. I think he'd.
He's the best coach in that league.
If you swapped coaches, I wouldn't actually really back Leipzig to do much this season. Like I'd probably put them third.
Like I'd back Jadon Sancho to have a superstar season.
Yeah, imagine
you have one anyway, but
Sancho,
he'd
Royce,
be 20 and 20.
Hazard, Brandt, Paco Alcácer, Hakimi. Imagine those guys under Nagelsmann, and again, really good mobile defenders in Zagadou, in Akanji, in Hummels. The only real weak area you see for them would be Piszczek, but now Hakimi can play on the right because they've got in Schultz on the left. So I don't know, they're a little bit thin in midfield, Dortmund. But fundamentally, I think that Favre's conservatism will mean that they will never quite achieve what Leipzig will. Leipzig will go really hard this season, and it means they could flame out and finish 3rd or 4th. But it also means they could just have an unreal campaign and finish first. So
yeah. I think it will go. Might be one season too early for him. I think they'll probably play the better football, but I think the quality of Munich's squad might prevail just in the end, closer than it should be. So I think it'll probably be Bayern, Leipzig, then Dortmund.
But if Leipzig don't win the league this season, can you see them win?
Yes, absolutely.
But
what lose Timo?
That's my worry.
Definitely lose Timo next.
They've got Forsberg
30 million euro buyout clause.
They just signed a new contract. Oh, was that in the new contract?
This cheap buyout.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
He's a goner. And he'll go to Bayern, which is then strengthening direct rival.
But then so will Norwich.
I don't think he will. I think he might go to Liverpool.
That'd be a great move for them.
But then you've got to hope that Augustin or Cunha or Nkunku or Lookman can kind of be a striker. That's where I get a bit worried.
I suppose under Ralph, they were still the second best team under Rangnick. So you're thinking, but Bayern were very unlucky. We've said this before. So it's fine margins. It's bloody fine margins.
I've actually realised what's going to happen, which is obviously Timo will go at the end of this year, and they will go and get Erling Braut Haaland out of RB Salzburg.
Did he on the podcast?
19-year-old Haaland, who's got 1.5 goals per game currently.
If it was 1,600, he would be burning your village down. Haaland.
He is
an
so
absolute worry.
There's actually a clip I saw on Twitter the other day, and he sent a kid. I'm guessing it was either a small child that he was playing against at his age, or currently this season, looked like a child next to him. He sent him back to 1500 BC. Shoulder to shoulder, he's put him 30 yards.
Yeah, because he's 19 and he's absolutely colossal.
Did you see what he did to the Honduras squad?
No, but
yeah, he scored 9 goals in one game against the under 21s.
Oh yeah. I thought he got like 12 in a game as well.
Ridiculous.
Like, that was kind of how he came onto the team. But he's the son of Alf-Inge Haaland, right? And he's just a unit and is absolutely banging goals in a league which has pretty reliably produced good talent.
Yeah.
So I just think he'll go to Leipzig.
Of course,
next season,
yeah. Salzburg to Leipzig, that well-trodden path. Yeah, absolutely.
Right, so we're saying a standard chance. Kendall 12 has the next one. Thoughts on the rumoured £90 million January move for Declan Rice from Man United? No. No.
Is this based on his horrible performance? I heard he was terrible against Kosovo.
Please, no.
I love Kosovo, though.
Declan Rice is fine. Pretty limited midfielder, I think, and he would be okay for Man United, but nothing more than £40 million.
I don't think he's a significant upgrade on McTominay, and that's not to do any of them a disservice.
I think
he's better. He's better than McTominay. He's better than McTominay.
He's also a volume passer
he's
as well as
younger than McTominay, and I think he's got more room to progress.
I've defended him in the past,
not 90,
but I think I suppose McTominay got a couple of years on him. Is he 19?
I think he's 3 or 4 years older.
Like his defensive contribution for West Ham is 4.5 tackling interceptions. McTominay 3.5 for United. So okay, that might level out. Yeah, he's a better passer, but not like enough to improve your league
Not £90
position.
million worth. I would be happy with £40 million if Declan Rice was to come in, but 90 is just.
I like him.
It feels like you can get a decent DM if you're just a bit smart and have a look around.
I feel like £90 million could get you Wilfred Ndidi.
I mean,
yeah, exactly. If you've got 90 million, you're getting a Premier League.
You're getting close to Ndidi at 90
Definitely get Ndidi. You don't want to pay more than 90 mil for Ndidi.
I think you're getting.
Is it Sumaseku? Samaseku that Hoffenheim just picked up for like 12 mil, and his defensive numbers at international level at the African Cup of Nations, which is a good barometer, are horrific. They're like 7.5 tackles in interceptions.
Yeah, but United are never going to do that though. United are only ever going to go and get somebody who's like super tried and tested. The smart guy for them to get this summer would probably have been a Bakayoko, who would have totally freed you up.
We seem to have changed our policy, so we could just go and get somebody out of the Championship that you've never heard of. Like if Calvin Phillips hadn't signed a new deal at Leeds, I wouldn't have put it past United to go and get Calvin Phillips
Swansea,
out of
not at United.
You should have got Billing.
I went to school, Matt Grimes. He's a good footballer.
He is a good footballer.
Should have got Billing off Huddersfield then. Like that would have worked. Like that would have been totally fine.
Bill.
He is a walking yellow card.
Where did he go though? Did he go to
He's a Bournemouth. He's a Bournemouth.
That's a good move for
He's
Bournemouth.
honestly one of the most card-happy players I've ever seen.
And playing next to, what's his chops as well? Jefferson Lerma, who likes a kick as well. So.
Right, the last quickfire questions then before we do the personal one. Sam Goz, based on what you've seen so far, which teams need to do the most business in January?
Oh God, maybe a bit early for that.
Probably United.
Very early. United definitely. Chelsea if the ban gets overturned. I think
Chelsea all right. Like we're already hearing about them trying to buy a right back, but I mean, Reece James hasn't played a minute yet.
Yeah. Everton.
I think they look all right.
Sign a centre half.
Definitely need a centre half. Although having said that, brilliant at home again.
Spurs will need a right back. Spurs need a right back desperately. They should go and get a right back in January.
That Trippier sale looks even weirder now, doesn't it? I just don't understand it.
Yeah. Though maybe if Foyt comes back, Foyt is clearly the plan. That's clearly the idea that Juan Foyt is going to play right back. So. And we haven't really seen that so far, so maybe things will look a bit better. I mean, it is Pochettino.
Yeah, I think Southampton as well.
Yeah.
Need some reinforcements in midfield, having sold Lamina to Galatasaray.
Yeah, though their midfield, like you still look at it and you're like, they just need some creative players. They've only got Genopo, but they always just do this where they're like, it's going to take a gamble on this guy, it's going to take a gamble on that guy. You're like, you probably take at least 3 of those gambles. Like, they really need, like...
You've gambled on Buffal, failed. You're gambling on Gineppa.
Buffal's starting to play again, isn't it? I can imagine him having a half decent season.
Poor bloke came up against Wan-Bissaka though, and after about 15 minutes went, I'm done.
Yeah, because he was just like, you know, it's classic Buffal where he's going to try like 13 dribbles and normally he completes 6, and against Wan-Bissaka he was just getting clattered.
Daniel James's completion rate for dribbles is 18%, by the way.
12%, I think. I didn't even learn that. That's optimistic.
Yeah, but he's just running onto passes, isn't he? He's a classic knock it and go player.
Right, okay, so we're saying a few of them names. Can't remember who we said. Personal question then to finish up. Behind Pitch says, if you have one person to interview one-to-one, who would it be and why? If you could interview somebody one-on-one, who would it be and why?
Would yours be from the realms of football or film? I feel like you'd lean more towards film.
Definitely not football, but not necessarily film. Like, I don't know. Like, probably, I mean, Werner Herzog would be a great interview.
Who?
Werner Herzog.
He's remained Pato's pinned tweet for about 15 years.
He's a director. He makes documentaries. Well, he's not just documentaries.
Is he the guy in your head?
Have you not seen Grizzly Man?
That's holding a coconut or something?
He was shooting a film called Fitzcarraldo, which was like basically shot in the jungle, and he's Bavarian and he's just incredibly kind of nihilistic. But he's also,
what does that word mean?
It means that he kind of believes in nothing, but he's not really. Like, I mean, so he made a film about like the death penalty in the US, and like there was like this chaplain guy who was talking to, who just kind of wouldn't really give him anything, like wouldn't reveal any of his real feelings. And Herzog was like, oh, you mentioned earlier you saw like this squirrel on the way to work, and started asking him questions about this. And this guy who's been talking completely dispassionately about like the state executing people just starts crying talking about this. Like, he's amazing at like asking people these weird offbeat questions
and then bringing it back round to the point.
Yeah, that somehow gets them to open up. And like, he's also really funny and just weird. And
is he still alive?
Yeah, and he's an incredible filmmaker. Like, if you haven't seen Grizzly Man, it's probably my favourite documentary ever. It's probably my top 10 films. It's just
Did you know that
insane.
The man in Grizzly Man almost got cast as Sam in Cheers?
Really?
Oh, yeah, he was like, he got down to like
the final. Is that Ted Danson?
Yeah, he got down to like the final 3.
What's it about?
A man who lives with bears.
He basically it's a guy who's like who would like kind of go out into the Canadian like wilderness and try and like commune with grizzly bears, and it does not end well.
And he was killed by a grizzly bear. Sorry for ruining it. That didn't.
That's revealed like straight away.
Yeah, that didn't. He in fact didn't kind of inhabit the same space of. It was like a new
so
one.
He and his girlfriend were killed.
He and
his girlfriend were killed and eaten by
viciously as well. There's an audio recording.
Yeah, which he killed and eaten by
viciously
in front of the guy's mum, and then he says, like in his incredibly like thick Germanic accent, he's like, "You must never listen to this recording." Like, it's absolutely.
Do you hear the recording?
He's the bloke off The Simpsons.
No. He like said he was
if
like,
that was available, he would absolutely be listening to that as soon as we got back to the office.
And he finds absolutely insane people. Well, there's no gore in it or anything, but it's just like, it's genuinely like a fascinating story, and his views on things, you know, like he's really tough on his subjects. You know, so like there's this guy who's like filming himself to camera just being like, these bears are my friends and like we commune, and like Werner Herzog is just like, oh, when I look at the bear I don't see a friend, I see like the pure blank indifference of nature. And so it's fucking amazing. Like it's genuinely incredible, and weirdly like
sounds a bit smart for me.
Weirdly, Werner Herzog is also quite uplifting as well as like affecting.
And also, what a weird cameo in that Tom Cruise film.
He's in loads of stuff. What Jack Reacher?
Jack Reacher.
Oh, also,
like, what are you doing?
Which one is he in Jack Reacher?
He's like, I don't know. He's like the German guy who gets shot. Yeah. But he's also in. He's going to be in one of the new like Disney Star Wars shows as well. And I was like, I wasn't going to watch that. But if Werner Herzog's in it, being like, nature is a vacuum.
The proper filmmakers love him though, don't they? That's why he gets cast in his little roles.
He's the best.
Who would you go for then?
The best.
I was thinking that whole time, and I couldn't really arrive at. I've been watching a lot of Mindhunter recently, which is a bloody outstanding series on Netflix. David Fincher, who makes it, would be up there just because of the kind of the darkness. He explores the darkness pretty readily, doesn't he?
It's quite a difficult interview though, isn't he? David
Fincher? But that would be a bit more of a challenge as an interviewer, wouldn't it, to kind of extrapolate what you're saying about Werner. Like, I was thinking at first like Tarantino, but then Tarantino is just sort of, you don't have to be a good interviewer to get a good interview out of him. He will literally just lay it all out on the table for you. And then like Scorsese's, like, used to be a bit more neurotic and fun, is a little bit more like considered and diplomatic. Now, I would certainly go to film. That'd be where my instincts go. But in Mindhunter, they interview serial killers, and the morbidity of it is absolutely incredible. I'm just like, I wouldn't mind a pop at that. Chinwag, a podcast with a fucking serial killer.
They're all stupid though, like that. Like it's so rare that like they're actually like I think it was the Green River Killer where like for decades like police were hunting this guy, like trying to locate him. And because he kept eluding capture, they built up this whole mythology about him. They were like, he's a genius. He's like a criminal genius. We'll never catch him. When they eventually found him, they found out he had the same IQ as an Alsatian. And so in Mindhunter, they lean quite heavily on Ed Kemper, right? Because Ed Kemper was notoriously like very clever. Like so, I don't know. I just feel like if you got in a room with serial killers,
the same IQ as an Alsatian.
Otherwise, you'd probably end up in a room with a guy who was just like like. The understudy to a caretaker at a school.
Maybe just someone like. Is there any politicians that really stand out? I feel like Bernie Sanders certainly, but he was kind of interviewed by Joe Rogan recently.
I mean, Obama would be fascinating to talk to.
He did David Letterman's. I feel like because these have happened. You know, David Letterman's. My next guest needs no introduction.
He'd be good into, I reckon, Letterman show though. Letterman himself would be quite good.
Interviewer, turning the lens on
Jamie Foxx, I always think is a good storyteller.
But Jamie Foxx is also just like one of the most multi-talented people. Like he can, because he can do everything. You could be like,
storytelling
he's going to act.
You don't want to be sycophantic, but you would end up kissing his ass because you're just like, you're sick. And he'd probably come in some purple velvet suit, and you'd be like, wow.
Yeah, Jamie Foxx would be really good. But yeah.
What footballer? Who would you pick then? Not necessarily football.
Don't really know. Maybe I'm allowed to have people that are dead.
Yeah,
sure, why not?
Maybe Elvis. I just want to find out how he died.
How racist he was.
Elvis, did he act like did something madness happen? Was he killed by the CIA?
Did he die in the toilet?
Supposedly died of a heart attack in the loo. But
I'm reading a book about
diet was insane.
Yeah, Michael Jackson. JFK now.
Michael Jackson.
Or probably not.
Don't think you're going to get.
I want to ask him the question.
Don't think you're going to get straight answer.
Got to ask him the question.
Oh God! I mean, I think he has been asked the question.
Has he not?
I watched Dave Chappelle's new special, talking of that, recently. I actually quite enjoyed it. I thought it was good. I think he'd be quite an interesting bloke to talk to.
Dave Chappelle, yeah. Anyway, who would yours be? Let us know in the comments below. Thanks very much for watching. If you want to get your comment or question answered next week, tweet it to us. We put out the tweet on Tuesday or Wednesday, or let us know in the comments below. We simply won't read them all. Thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.